blew pretty good last night. We had 30 knot gusts. I think it was 32 was the max. They were calling for 35, but man, that's spectacular out there. And that's the low pressure system that just blew over us. And last time we were in Bermuda a couple days ago, we were down there. Not sure if you can see the windmills. They're way down there, tucked underneath the windmills. Yeah, much calmer. There's not even anything breaking over the rocks this morning, so this looks like a better day to give ourselves a chance to get around the infamous Cape Race and onto the southern shore. Judith's at the helm, getting us out of here.
We've got Genoa and mainsail out. We just had a little bit of a hard time to get the main all the way up because it didn't want to go through the clutch, the sheet. So, but it's beautiful. But there's still ice in the gunnels here. Yeah. Ice and dirt. We really got to clean the boat. But so far it was always too cold. So we're about halfway to Trepassy. The weather turned a little bit on us again, and we have huge waves. The wind got a little bit stronger, but that is actually a good thing because we can still sail and it just stabilizes the boat a little bit in the waves. Yeah, it's a little bit uncomfortable, but we gotta go through there. Oops.
So we rounded Cape Race. We're well on the other side now. And, we have Trepassy Bay in sight. And just as predicted, the winds and the swell has really picked up. We had an amazing sail down the coast here. And then once we turned a little more west and northwest, we're getting hit by 20 knot headwinds and 3 meter, very short period waves. So we're giving our Ocean Bolt motors quite the test today. Got both of them running at about 9 kilowatts each. So it's pushing us along at anywhere between 3 to 5 knots, depending on whether we're going up a wave or down a wave. But we're really hoping, at least per the forecast, the further we get into Trepassy Bay, the less the waves get. But unless we want to tack back out offshore, we're probably not going to do any more sailing today. We left Port Corwin knowing that our battery banks weren't communicating with each other, and the readout that we were seeing on the display was effectively showing only half the battery capacity that we would have normally have expected to see. And the challenge became whether or not that readout was really representational of the entire system, or if it was only representational of half that battery bank. So what happens when your batteries go from, let's say, 100% down to 0%, reading only half the battery bank, but really there's another 100% there on the other side? And we just didn't know, and we couldn't get a straight answer as to whether or not the system would just shut down. When we rounded Cape Race and we ended up in some significant headwinds and waves, the batteries were down to about 14%, which is really unusual. We should have had about 65 to 70% left in our battery bank total, and we were nervous that the system would just entirely shut down. So we shut down the systems voluntarily and began sailing. And so when we started sailing, we ran into issue number 2, and that was the balance of the boat was really out of alignment with what we needed for sailing in those strong winds, upwind, and in beating into waves. We had successfully done it before, coming around Cape Francis, St. Francis, and a couple days earlier when we left for Meuse and tried to make our way down the East Coast and around Cape Race on the first try. But for whatever reason, this time around was different, and our helm was not responding correctly. We had a significant amount of lee helm, and we were just getting blown off the wind and being blown basically backwards, almost like we were caught in a 6 or 7 knot current going the opposite direction. And so we ran for what looked like a quick, safe harbor, kind of around the headland of Cape Race, but we were told by some friends and eventually the Coast Guard who had contacted some of the local fishermen that was not a good place to be. It had sustained a fair amount of damage in Hurricane Fiona over the previous summer, and we were advised not to go there. So I tacked back out to sea to get off the lee shore, and we were then subsequently advised that there was a Coast Guard ship on their way to St. John's, and they were going to be in the area in about 4 or 5 hours, and they could render assistance if we saw fit. And we elected at that point in time, since Judith was fairly seasick at that point, the blizzard was getting worse, our visibility was down to 0, and it was going to take us probably 12 hours to sail into Trepassy under our own power, that we'd just go ahead and play it safe. And we're glad we did, because when we got back into Trepassy with the assistance of the Coast Guard, it turned out that our motors, while they would spin, they provided no propulsion, and we ended up with what appeared to be some frozen or locked props that would no longer provide forward motion or any sort of motion for the boat. They would just beat the water like an egg beater. We were told by Ocean Bolt to go ahead and reset that system, and eventually that worked, and we got our system back online, and we were able to continue after that. But what ended up being the problem overall, as we discovered later on down the road, was 2 loose fuses. And so the fuses that would enable the articulation of the blades just basically wiggled their way out, either in transit from Finland or during our travels. In any event, that connection became loose, and it no longer allowed the servo prop to work properly. Over the course of the next couple days, we redistributed some weight, moved a spare chain up front and a bunch of gear up front to balance out the boat. We got the batteries back online thanks to a good friend, Bob, who brought us some new network cables and allowed us to reconnect the battery systems and bring everything back online properly. And of course, the motors were now fully functional, so we were good to go.
And the weather being steady and fair, I shall die, this dear captain did cry. If I can't have that maid on the shore, shore,
bike and I will check out what the grocery store has. This is such a cute little town. Hi. So this is our little grocery store here. Let's see what they have.
So we've been invited to a
Dance.
kind of what's been described as a traditional Newfoundland dance. Not sure quite what that is, and nobody's been really able to explain it to us.
So
But-
I tried to teach him a few steps of all kinds of dances, but we're not sure if we can use them tonight.
Yeah, we don't quite understand what's going on, but it's New Year's Eve, and so we're gonna indulge a little bit. The wind's calmed down. We're good with leaving Hakluyt kind of on our own for a couple hours, and we're gonna go to this town of 200 or 250 people.
Yeah, kind
It
of.
sounds like. Anyway, it's their New Year's shindig. They call it a dance. There's apparently a live band or something playing, so we'll see what it is.
She rolled away back to the shore, shore, shore. She rolled away back to the shore. All the men, they were mad at the men, they were sad. They were deeply sunk down in despair. Oh, to see her away with her beauty so gay, her rings and her things and her fine pharaoh, her rings and her things and her fine pharaoh.
Redistributing some weight from the aft forward, try and balance out the helm a little bit better. We coming into Fermuse, or not to Fermuse, coming into Trepassy here, we noticed a large degree of lee helm, and so we're trying to move some weight forward, counteract that, bring our center of effort back a little bit. Just your standard weight redistribution.
So our daily morning walk is right here at the beach, and there's a little meadow. It's very beautiful, and that's why we call it Nature's Art Gallery. Let's go and have a look.
The wind is blowing over your island. The season is changing, your beauty to see. And although I'm not there.
So we're prepping for our next hop here, and it's a little chilly out tonight. It's about 30 degrees Fahrenheit, 2 below Celsius, something like that. Everything is frozen, which is always an interesting way to start stuff out. But yeah, dock lines are kind of cables, and deck is a little frozen. It's supposed to warm up tomorrow as we get going. In case anybody out there wanted to know what living the dream is like, these are our dock lines, frozen solid to the dock. That's always fun. And also cabled to the cleat. So this is gonna be interesting. January 2023, and it's we got about, I don't know, 8 knots, 9 knots of wind right now, so it's a little chilly out here. But we had a lot of wind the other night, so I had extra dock lines, about 10 dock lines out. I need to dismantle a couple of those, just to make things go a little bit quicker in the morning. And yeah, so time to get to work and get some rest before we take off. So probably one of the most frequent questions we get is, what are these spools on the back of the boat for? And before, they came with the boat when I bought it, but they're usually used for tying up the shoreline, or to the shore. So there are shoreline spools in places where it's difficult to anchor, and you just need to tie the boat to something, not necessarily your anchor, but you tie it up to land. So there's 110 meters per spool. We got 2 spools, and so we haven't ran into the situation yet because all the docks here are empty this time of year, which is great. And but I tell you, when the winds really pick up over 30-35 knots, it's really nice to have an extra set of any length that you need, more or less, to tie up a boat with some additional lines. So I can tie 2 more spring lines if I need to, more bow lines, more stern lines, and they've come in really handy here. So really glad that we have them on board. They're a little bit of a pain sometimes, and they do add some weight to the stern, which we need to counterbalance in the bow. But yeah, so far they've proven their worthiness for sure on several occasions this winter.
We're about to leave Trepassy. We've suddenly, very surprisingly, had a good weather window, and Wes is just untying us from the dock.
From the icy dock.
The icy dock, yeah.
It's gonna hold us until I'm ready on the helm, right?
Okay.
And then you'll just slip the line.
Okay. Yeah, we had some problems with the motors last time when we came in here. They were suddenly not working anymore, so the problem is fixed, and now we just want to make sure that they're running before we head out again. And it's really dark still. It's 5 o'clock in the morning or so. It's still windy out there and the waves are high, but the forecast is really good, so we're hoping that this time we're running in good weather and not in bad weather like last time. I was really... Oh, okay? Huh? Bye-bye, Trepassy! Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed this episode. A special thanks to Judy Brazil, who is a local musician from Trepassy and provided us with her beautiful music.
And also a special thanks to Psionic Tremors, who also provided music for the last few videos. We really appreciate it. If you want to learn more about us, you can head over to svhackloot.com, and you can also find us on Facebook and Instagram. And while you're on svhackloot.com, you can head over to the shop and you can help support us by either purchasing one of Judith's books or some of our merchandise, our shirts, hats, hoodies, etc. We'd really appreciate it.
And also, if you subscribe, that would help us to keep doing these videos. So please subscribe to our channel, and thank you again for watching. Bye. Hello again from Hackloot's Galley. Today I've got a very important health tip for you. Research has shown that conventional white sugar is not good for your health. It causes diabetes and obesity, cancer, chronic fatigue, inflammation and candida, and many more. The good news is there are really good replacements for sugar. And additionally, if you reduce your sugar intake, your taste buds will adjust in about 4 to 6 weeks. And less sweet is the new yummy. Me, for example, I could not eat a candy bar. I probably would throw up. Yeah, so let's see what we have here. A very easy way to just switch to coconut sugar. The next one is maple syrup. but make sure it's pure maple syrup and not like sugar syrup. Then we've got stevia. What I have here is pure stevia. It's just a powder of the stevia leaves. You can also have that in liquid form. Then we have just a simple banana. If you do make desserts, you can just use a banana for sweetness, or you could just eat it as a snack. The best of all that I really can recommend is dates. Dates are high in potassium and other minerals and are really, really good for your health. So what you can do with the dates is you soak it in water and make a date paste, and you can use it as you use sugar. Or you can just eat them with some almond butter. That's really good. If you need a little sweet snack, you just put some almond butter on a date and it's like a candy. I prefer fruit, so I'm eating a banana.